Heya, cryptozens. Tonight's show. New York Assembly pushes AntiCrypto Bill. Compass Mining to sell equipment in Russia. It's 10 p.m. Pacific Time. The date is April 23rd, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm your host, Nick. The cover model for this podcast is Tex, and together we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. We're here to bring you the crypto news analysis you need to start your day. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. Now, let's take a quick look at the markets, because it's not looking too good today. It's typical weekend dumping behavior. Trading volume is thin on the weekends, so anything can cause, huge swings. Looks right now like it's swinging down. Here are the numbers. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $1.84 trillion. It's down 0.26% since yesterday. The top 5 cryptos by market cap are Bitcoin, down 0.08%, Ethereum, down 0.59%, Tether, Binance Coin, down 0.52%, and USDC. The global NFT market cap is up over $10.39 billion. According to CoinMarketCap, the top 5 NFT collections by sales volume are Moonbirds, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Bored Ape Kennel Club, and Age of Gods. Now keep in mind, some of these collections have very volatile prices, so do your own research. New York Assembly pushes anti-crypto bill. Okay, this is a little involved, so you're going to need some background for this one. Let's talk about Bitcoin mining for just a second. When you're producing anything, you want to get your materials as cheap as you possibly can, and you want your production process to be as efficient as it possibly can, wasting and using as little as you can. Bitcoin mining really is no different. If you think about it, Bitcoin mining is the art and science of turning electricity into money. It's honestly that simple. So your profit will come from a couple of things, either getting cheap electricity or being very efficient when transforming electricity into money. In the state of New York, especially in the Finger Lakes region, mining companies have started setting up shop. Greenwich Generation is one of those miners. In 1937, the New York State Electric and Gas Corporation stood up a coal-fired power plant. This power plant, from what I understand, was fairly normal. In 1953, the current steam turbine was installed. But as these things do, the power plant found itself getting left behind. In 1985, they took out 2 of the turbines and 3 boilers, took them out of service. In 2009, they took another turbine and boiler out of service. And then something happened. In 2014, the plant was purchased by Atlas Holdings, LLC. 2.5 years of site evaluations and environmental impact studies later, Greenwich got their permits. So in 2017, the plant comes back online, but instead of burning coal, the power plant runs on natural gas now. Commercial Bitcoin mining started in 2020. In 2021, they announced their intention to become carbon neutral through the use of carbon offsets. And this is going to be important. So remember when we were talking about being a producer, the idea is to have a cheap source of materials. So now Greenwich Generation controls its own power source, and that's its primary material. So in theory, this dramatically reduces the cost of electricity for Greenwich, and it is working. They said that they're planning on building 4 new buildings on that property alone. And in 2021, Greenwich announced that they were going to be expanding to South Carolina. Looks like they're going to stand up a similar facility to this one, and it would also be powered by zero carbon sources mostly. As always, there is a downside, and as usual, in this case, the downside is people. It's the people around Seneca Lake that are proving to be the issue. They started protesting the operation of the Greenwich plan from the start. In December of 2020, reports emerged. These reports how regional backlash against the company because of the planned expansion. Local groups, the Sierra Club and the Seneca Lake Guardian, got together and they took that case to the Supreme Court. The suit alleges that the expansion cannot be permitted. They say it violates New York law, toxic algae blooms. They believe that the high temperature water from the plant harms the algae blooms, and this causes toxins that can't be filtered out. There are several families downstream from the plant that get their drinking water from that lake. So they're making claims about a rise in temperature of the lake, and these claims have not yet been substantiated, which is also an important point because nobody's taken the study. Now, I'm not saying that there hasn't been a change in the temperature. I'm just not pretending to know that there is one already happening. The fact that the Greenidge plant generates its own power really hasn't done anything to assuage the public's concerns. And this really runs counter to what the company is saying. Jeff Kurt is the CEO of operations for Greenidge Generation, and he said the plant's environmental impact, quote, has never been better than it is right now. As it sits, the plant is following both state and federal guidelines to maintain their permits. And like I said, they plan on becoming carbon neutral through buying carbon offsets. So that brings us to today. Greenidge has 17,000 miners converting electricity into Bitcoin. It uses a maximum of 44 megawatts, all of which is leading the New York Assembly to act against Bitcoin again. They want to put a 2-year moratorium on proof of work mining for blockchain mining, specifically for operations like Greenidge, power plants that generate their own power, and specifically carbon-based fuels. They don't want people taking a decommissioned power plant, standing it back up, retooling it, and then using it to generate electricity, which would be used for crypto mining. Now, the act states that statewide greenhouse gas emissions should be reduced by 85% by 2050. That comes from the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. Now, according to the bill, the proof of work crypto mining operations increase energy usage across the state. True. They also say proof of work mining goes against their energy and climate goals. So their Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act dictates that the state will have net zero emissions in all sectors of the economy by 2050. I don't know that that's particularly realistic. So, Greenidge recently applied to get their air quality permit renewed from the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. This new bill would put a halt to issuing new air quality permits for cryptocurrency mining organizations and may go further and may stop the renewal of any permits for crypto mining organizations. Yvonne Taylor is a member of one of the environmental groups who have taken on the task of protecting the lakes in the region. She said, quote, "We're trying to move away from burning fossil fuels. Resurrecting an old power plant in the middle of nowhere, that doesn't make sense." Now, to be sure, this bill is not going unopposed. The power producers and the cryptocurrency industry both have representatives in the state. They believe a separate bill is a better idea. This bill would create a new task force to understand the cryptocurrency industry better. And this bill passed the state assembly last month. So far, though, it hasn't been slated for a floor vote by the Environmental Conservation Committee chamber. Industry players have started lobbying to change the state regulations and to oppose incoherent legislation. Both the Blockchain Association and the Blockchain Industry Coalition have been given permission to lobby in the state capital of Albany. Kyle Schneps of Foundry Digital LLC said, quote, "We view the battle going on in New York right now as a litmus test of what other states may do." Compass Mining to sell equipment in Russia. It's a hell of a position for them to be in. They've got $30 million of equipment in Russia, so a significant financial position. Also, they don't want to get sanctioned. Now, we talked about this the other night. BitRiver. BitRiver found themselves under sanctions imposed by the U.S. Treasury Department last week. Now, their CEO is Igor Runets. And according to him, these sanctions are a play to, quote, changed the global balance of power in favor of American companies. He completely denied that BitRiver provided services to sanctioned Russian entities or individuals. Since the illegal and unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine, Western governments have retaliated. They slammed the country's institutions and oligarchs with sanctions. This has caused top brands like McDonald's and Coca-Cola to completely pull out of Russian operations. And leading crypto exchanges have said that a blanket ban is off the table, but they will work with regulators to ensure that they're not being used to get around sanctions on other people. This leads us to Compass Mining, because they're in a spot. Now, Compass Mining is a leading crypto mining company, and they are frantically trying to sell their mining equipment in Russia. That's $30 million of equipment just sitting there. They can't use it because sanctions, and they can't move it out of the country, again, because sanctions. Whit Gibbs is the CEO of Compass Mining. He says he understands the sanctions and the reason behind them. He does point out, quote, punishment is outsized for American miners. He goes on to say that the real loss is Bitcoin mining, and I kind of see his point. Right now, Bitcoin hash rate is at an all-time high, but the equipment stuck in Russia is about 15% of their capacity, 12 megawatts. In fact, they had plans. They were going to send another 10 megawatts of equipment to Russia. But given recent developments, Compass says that they're going to focus on their North American facilities. Now, Gibbs sounds optimistic. He believes that the company will get buyers for their hardware. There are about 2,000 owners who would end up getting a cut of the proceeds from the sale of this mining equipment that they can't use in Russia. Which is something I have to wonder about. If they sell this equipment, presumably to someone in Russia, can they do that legally? And avoid sanctions? So if that's a problem, then they'd have to find someone willing to buy their equipment in Russia, but someone not in Russia. I'm just not as optimistic about this as Gibbs seems to be. And that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed tonight's show, please like, comment, and subscribe. Give us a review. Do you have questions or comments? Reach out to us by email. The email address is nick@cryptoovernighter.com. That's nick@cryptoovernighter.com. And there's always my other podcast, Crypto in 5 Minutes. We have 41 educational podcasts, 5 minutes to explain one concept in crypto. And as always, may peace reign.